Welcome to EPG Pathshala. My name is Harshita Mishra from Department of Zoology, University of Delhi. Today we will study about importance of parasites which affects veterinary animals. The learning outcomes of this module would be, after the end of this module, you will be able to understand different forms of association among animals, concept of parasitism, general properties, types and their examples. Also, you will be able to understand host-parasite relationship, terminology related to it and list of common parasites affecting livestock and domestic animals. You will be able to identify common parasites on the basis of morphology, characteristic features and physical attributes. Major parasites of veterinary importance, their life cycle, mode of transmission, major disease caused by them. Now we will start with the introduction. Parasites are organisms that live at the expense of other animals. These may be microorganisms which are studied under microbiology or eukaryotes which are studied under parasitology. These may affect adversely to the health of animal. They might or might not be lethal. However, they cause discomfort to the host and illness by being vectors for number of diseases. Two organisms living in association represents a relationship called symbiosis. Depending on the nature of interaction among the two participants, symbiosis may be mutualism, commensalism or parasitism. Let us start with mutualism. An association in which two organisms live with each other and mutually benefit each other, that association is called mutualism. Commensalism. An association in which two organisms live with each other such that one organism benefits from the other and the other is neither benefited nor harmed. Parasitism. In this type of association, one organism is benefited at the cost of other organism. The term parasitism represents those organisms which draw nourishment from the host, usually reproduce inside the host body, and at least one major stage of their life cycle is incomplete without their host. Depending on the mode of survival of the parasite, parasites may be divided into following types. Obligate parasites. These are the parasites which cannot live without their host. An important process of their life, for example, nutrition or reproduction, is dependent on their host. For example, mosquito. They feed on the blood which is essential for their egg laying. Next type is facultative parasites. Those parasites which depend on their host at some stage of their development are called facultative parasites. They spend some part of their life cycle inside the host and then they abandon them for new host for completion of their next stage of life cycle. Therefore, they are not totally dependent on their host. Parasites of veterinary importance are described now. First of all, we will come to the phylum Arthropoda. Arthropoda represents largest number of known animals. Most of the members of this phylum are free living. Yet, some members show parasitic adaptations. Certain organisms of this phylum Arthropod like ticks, mites are of considerable medical and veterinary importance. Among arthropods, class Insecta and class Arachnida are most significant as far as parasitic relationships with vertebrates are concerned. We will start with the class Insecta. First of all, we will start with fleas. Adult fleas are blood-sucking ectoparasites living on the surface of vertebrates feeding on the blood. These are also vectors of many diseases. Now let us know about their body type. These are small organisms with laterally flattened body. Their body is covered with numerous characteristic bristles or spines called ctenidia. Fleas use these ctenidia to snag hair when the host tries to remove them from their body. They lay eggs either on the host or on the nest of the host. The freshly hatched larvae feed on the organic debris or flea feces. Pupae can remain dormant till the availability of the host. Their legs are modified for jumping purposes. An interesting feature of the flea is that they can leap more than 100 times of their body length. Now we come to the mouth parts. Adults have piercing and sucking type of mouth parts. Larvae have mandibles which are absent in adults. Let's see about their appendages. They have 3 pair of legs and 1 antenna. Most of the species of the fleas are host specific, but certain species like Plutex irritans, which infects humans, have various alternative hosts like pigs, dogs or squirrels. Now let's come to the life cycle. The female lays eggs many times in her lifetime. Eggs are laid on the surface of the host, sometimes off the host or in nearby area of the host. Eggs are in the form of multiple layers. Plutex irritans can oviposit around 448 eggs over a time span of 196 days. The eggs are hatched into larvae. Type of metamorphosis is holometabolic. The larva has spine which helps in rupturing the shell of the egg. The larva is white in color with well formed head and no legs. The body is covered by sparsely placed bristly hairs. A pair of tiny hook is present on the last segment of the body known as anal struts. Larvae are free living and feeds on the decaying vegetable and animal matter. Larvae undergo 2 moltings. They gain size after each molt. The third stage larvae undergo a quiescent stage where they stop eating, spin a white cocoon around them and undergo pupation. The pupa ruptures the cocoon after 7 days in favourable condition, but up to 1 year in unfavourable condition, and parasitic adult emerges. Temperature and humidity plays an important role on the embryonic development. The optimum temperature for the development is 70 to 23 degrees centigrade. At this temperature, hatching takes place in 7 to 8 days. The optimum range for humidity is 60 to 90%. Now we come to the lice. They are ectoparasites on the birds and mammals. They have dorsoventrally flattened body, reduced body. They lack wings. They possess well developed legs for attachment to the hair or feather of the host. Lice are parasitic throughout their life and cannot survive in the absence of host. Usually, they require one host for the completion of their life cycle. The adult female glues the eggs on the feather or hair of the host. The transmission of the parasites occurs by direct contact when the hosts meet each other for mating, brooding, etc. Lice can be divided into 2 types on the basis of their mouthparts and feeding habits. Number 1, chewing lice. They are also called in the class Malophaga. Number 2 is sucking lice, which are also called Anopleura, which are in the class Anopleura. Chewing lice. They are ectoparasites on birds and mammals. Mostly they feed on feathers, hair or skin of the host. Few species feed on the blood and serum. Most of the species are host specific. Birds have preening habits, so lice tend to cling to the head or neck region instead of other region. Hence, they acquire a round body, large head and clingy legs, and they tend to move slowly. These species which inhabit the wings or the back of the animals are flattened in shape. They are elongated and moves very fast across the feather to avoid their removal during preening. Bovicola is one of the most common species on the cattle, sheep and goats. Now we come to the sucking lice. They are exclusively parasitic on mammals. Their mouthparts are specialized for piercing the skin of the host and sucking the blood. They are also host specific. Lice are vectors of prokaryotic pathogens. Habitat and their life cycle. Adult female lays around 80 to 300 whitish eggs. The eggs are glued to the hair, skin or clothing of the host. Development is hemimetabolous type. Eggs hatch in the 5 to 20 days and nymph emerge. The antennae of the nymph are made up of 3 segments, while in adults there are 5 segments. Temperature plays an important role during the development. The development will not occur if the temperature is below 23 degrees centigrade or above 38 degrees centigrade. Once emerged, the nymphs start feeding on the host. If they fail to feed within 24 hours, they die. If the number of parasites exceeds certain threshold, they can cause anemia, allergic responses, dermatitis, hair loss and other such disorders. Also, they can cause restlessness, low weight, low milk yield, fleece damage, skin crusting and scabbing to the animals. Sucking lice can cause serious damage to the host, causing anemia, abortion, or in extreme case, death. Sometimes even small number of lice on goats or sheep can cause debilitation. Now we come to the mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are most important vectors of many important diseases. Hence, they are of great interest to medical and veterinary entomologists. Let's see how many diseases they transmit. If population of the mosquitoes exceed, they can cause extensive blood loss to the livestock. This affects their productivity and sometimes can cause death. Mosquitoes are responsible for carrying various disease-causing pathogens. Eastern equine encephalomyelitis (EEE) virus cause diseases and mortality in horses and other equids, whooping cranes, emus, and caged pheasants. The host is affected by infection within 2 to 5 days. Symptoms include high fever. The infected horse drops to the ground and lapses into the coma. Cases of EEE have been reported in other animals like dogs and pigs. Western equine encephalomyelitis (WEE). It also affects horses in summers. Immunization is available for EEE and WEE to reduce chances of infection. Venezuela equine encephalomyelitis (VEE). It is transmitted to the horses, donkeys and mules. Many species of the mosquitoes are causative agents of VEE. In case of WEE and EEE, mosquitoes can acquire a virus from birds and transmit it to horses, but in case of VEE, mosquitoes can pick a complex from one horse and transmit it to another horse or equid. Dirofilaria immitis, a filarial nematode, is responsible for causing dog heartworm. It is also transmitted by mosquitoes. Adult worm reside in the pulmonary artery and right ventricle of the dog's heart. Adults grow in their size, aggregate extending to the right atrium of the heart, which decreases output and compromise functioning of the heart. The decrease in cardiac output to the body results in weakness, coughing, lethargic behavior, and in extreme cases, heart failure. The transmission of nematodes occurs through infected mosquito through blood meal. The larva is present on the mouthparts of the mosquito and transmits through feeding. The larva will enter the skin of the dog in about 70 to 90 days. The larva migrates and reaches into the heart, where it grows and develops into an adult. Now we come to the black fly. They feed on the blood of the host, which can be animal or humans. The young ones are dependent on water for their development. Females feed on the blood of the host and consume as much as blood as their own weight. Females lay oval triangular eggs. The larva bears a hard head capsule. The body of the larva is elongated, bearing proleg on the thorax and terminal surface of the abdomen. A silk-like substance is secreted from the proleg of the larva, which helps them to hold them onto water. A fan-like appendage is present in the vicinity of the mouth, which is used to filter food from the water current. Adults have bead-like antenna. Mouthparts have serrated mandibles and toothed lacunae, which is used by female for blood feeding. Males possess similar organs, although they don't drink blood. Blood-sucking female flies are active at dawn and dusk. Now, let's see about their veterinary impact. Black flies transmit number of pathogens which can cause diseases. For example, protozoans, nematodes, viruses. If present in large number, they can cause trampling of young ones and in few cases death of birds and livestock. They suffocate the animal and block their respiratory passage, which results in death. In most cases, death occurs by toxemia and shock and not from the biting, which is painful. The persistent attack of black fly causes loss of weight, reduced production of eggs and milk, malnutrition of young ones, impotency, stress, epidermal necrosis, dermatitis and delayed pregnancy. Disease transmission. Leukocytozoonosis. Their causative agent is protozoan leukocytozoon. It is transmitted to birds which cause malaria-like symptoms. The carrier of the protozoans Trypanosoma confusum are black flies. Bovine onchocerciasis. It is caused by the transmission of filarial parasite called Onchocerca linealis by Simulium genixi. Infected cattle show dermatitis and inflammation of the skin and connective ligaments. Now we come to the blowfly. These are small but robust and metallic in appearance. They prefer to lay their eggs over decaying matter. They play important role in recycling. However, they are vectors of number of diseases and cause nuisance in animal farms. The larvae feed on the moist, living or dead flesh. Blowflies causes myiasis, which is infestation of live animal from infected sore. The major genera responsible for these are Calliphora, Chrysoma, Cynomia, Lucilia, Formia and Protoformia. The adults are automatically attracted towards sore, nasopharyngeal and urogenital infections. Heavy infestation can lead to death. Even after death, larvae continue to feed on carcass. Screwworm fly or Cochlomia hominivorax. It is also called primary screwworm fly. It is responsible for causing obligatory myiasis. The female gets attracted towards fresh open wounds of the warm-blooded animals. The adult female is also attracted towards umbilicus of the newborn calves, castrated calves or any kind of insect bite, thorn scratch or shearing wounds. The female lay 100 to 300 eggs at a time. The larvae hatches within 24 hours and start feeding on the wounds. In a week or two, larvae become fully developed and start consuming considerable amount of dead or live flesh. Open wounds are subjected to secondary infections. Class Arachnida. In class Arachnida, we will come to the mites. Mites are both free living and parasitic. Parasitic mites are ectoparasites on both vertebrates and invertebrates. Some may enter inside the body through respiratory passage and cause infection. Some mite species larvae are also parasitic. Mite infest most of the part of the body of the animal, including fur of the host, scales and skin. When they enter inside the body cavity, they infest respiratory passage and internal tissues and organs. Body type. Mites are small organisms measuring about 0.2 to 0.8 millimeters. Body is divided into two segments, Gnathosoma and Idiosoma. Gnathosoma is also called capitulum, harboring mouthparts and feeding appendages. The cuticle of arachnid is secreted by epidermis and is composed of various layers of proteins, polysaccharides and lipids. Mouthparts include calicaria, which is used in piercing, tearing and gripping of the host. It also possesses a pair of pedipalpa used for feeding. Hypostome along with labrum constitute the buccal cone. Appendages. Mites have 4 pairs of legs. At the tip of the leg, a pair of claw is also present for attachment to the host. Mode of transmission and contact. The diseases caused by mite can lead to local damage, systematic damage and transmitted infections. Local damage is associated with inflammation, swelling, ulceration and itching at the site of infection. Secondary infection risk by bacteria can also be associated with local damage. The method by which parasite might contact their host is divided into 3 groups. Members of the first group are feather mites, example Analgesidae, Dermoglyphidae, Myobidae and Sauroptidae. They usually spend their whole life on the hosts. They are found on birds and mammals and their many generations live on the single host. They are transmitted when the host contact or infestated material. Member of the second group are nest parasites, which are found on the nest dwelling or burrowing vertebrates. They are also called nidicolls. It includes member of Deminicidae and Lilipidae family. Generally, such mites are hematophagous. They visit to the host only for feeding. They can transmit from one host to another through contact or infested material. Members of the third group include larvae of the family Trombiculidae, also called chiggers. Like other hard ticks and nidicolls, they visit the host for feeding. They are generally not host specific and can parasitize other hosts as well. They can survive without food or meal for a considerable amount of time. Hence, they can drop off the host whenever they want. Habitat and life cycle. Mites prefer to ingest fluids. When they get solid food, they digest it externally, liquefy it and then absorb it by the action of sucking pharynx. Other mites feeding on the blood or lymph suck the same from damaged or cut tissue with the help of calicari. Some mites larvae, chiggers, are parasite and their nymphs and their adults are free living. Host specificity also varies from being highly specific to opportunists. The cattle follicle mite. This might reside on the skin of cattle and cause lesion on the sensitive body parts including neck, shoulders, axillary region and sometimes udder. Papillonodular demodicosis can infect pregnant or lactating cows. Over a period of time, it can cause a nodule. The size of the nodule varies from a pinhead to a chicken egg. These nodules, when rupture, cause sores and infection. Skin damage caused by these sores affect leather quality and economic value of the cattle. The goat follicle mite. These mites can also cause nodules which can be as large as up to 4 cm in diameter in the skin. Certain breeds of the cattle are highly susceptible. The scabies mite. These mites deposit feces into the skin burrow where they reside. In about 3 weeks, the initial infestation occurs which results in pruritus and hair loss of the organism. If the infestation is not treated on time, it can cause secondary infection and skin become thick and crustaceous. Sensitive animals along with those suffering from extreme infestation face weight loss, hearing loss, blindness and loss of appetite and even in extreme cases death. The sheep scab mites. They are responsible for causing lesions on most of the part of the body. It can also cause weight loss and compromise with the wool quality of the sheep. Other livestock like cattle may also get infested from sheep and suffer from similar symptoms. The choreoptic scab mite. It creates irritation to the animals. Infestation beyond threshold can cause stamping, chewing of legs, constant rubbing or any other kind of self-inflicted injury. Severe infestation may result into blood body lesions, dermatitis, epidermal crusting and hair loss. The sauroptic ear mite. These mites are responsible for causing crusting of skin, hair loss, accumulation of ear wax, ear scratching, hearing impairment, rubbing and shaking of ear and ear inflammation. Prolonged infestation can result in anemia, weight loss and death in extreme cases. The sheep itch mite. As the name suggests, infestation causes restlessness in sheep and the animal keep on biting and rubbing the affected area of the skin. It compromises the health of the animal and affects the quality of the wool. It causes dry skin, loss of hair and erythema. Initially, the lesions are seen on the neck and shoulders of the animal which later on spread to other body parts like face, thigh, etc. Disease transmission. Mites serve as intermediate host for various worms like tapeworm which infect domestic animals like cattle. Young ones are prone to infestation of tapeworm. If the infection is not treated on time, it can cause weight loss, infection of intestine, loss of appetite and colitis. Sheep have more adverse effect than cattle on horse. Ticks. They are very specialized obligate parasite infesting several terrestrial vertebrates. All stages of the ticks are exclusively parasitic. According to their body type, they may be recognized as hard ticks and soft ticks. Most ticks prefer to reside on the domestic livestock are from the family Exodidae. This group is also called as hard ticks. The family Argicidae consists of soft ticks. Hard ticks. The capitulum is placed at the terminal end or in the hard ticks. Only one nymph stage occurs between the larval and adult stage in most of the ticks. Hard ticks feed on several hosts during their lifespan. They take a long time for feeding. Depending on the stage of development, they take 4 to 7 days for feeding on blood meal. Most of the species are host specific. Larvae and nymph prefer to feed on small mammals and birds. On the other hand, adults prefer to cling on large mammals. Females lay a clutch of eggs on the host and die later. Soft ticks. Their physical characteristic features are opposite to that of hard ticks. The capitulum is situated at the subterminal. They are usually found in nest, burrow, crevices and soil. Soft ticks have multiple nymph stages. Their feeding period varies from 1 minute to 1 hour. They usually feed on night. During development, the larvae remains on the host, still molting occurs. Adult females deposit eggs in their hideout multiple times between their feedings. Their clutch size is comparatively smaller and consists of few hundred eggs. They parasitize rodents, mammals inhabiting burrows, caves or dens. Few species parasitize ground nesting marine birds. Habitat and their life cycle. All ticks are parasitic at some or the other stages of their life cycle. Maximum species infest mammals while few infest birds and cold-blooded animals. Ticks have unusual long lives and they may survive for 1 or more years without taking meal. Newly hatched ticks, also called as seed ticks, possess 6 legs. They climb onto the blade of the grass or over a surface with the help of these legs and wait for the suitable host. Once they find the host, they feed upon it for few days and then drop off on the ground. They undergo an internal organization, shed their skin and emerge as sexually immature 8-legged nymphs. The nymphs climb on the blade of the grass or weed and then they wait for the next suitable host. The cycle is repeated one more time and then adults emerge. Veterinary impacts. Lone star ticks. It is one of the most irritating ticks. Nearly all stages of the tick cause infestation and attack livestock, wildlife and humans. Their primary host for adults is deer. Rocky Mountain wood tick. This tick attacks livestock. This tick attacks livestock and wildlife in western Northern America. These ticks acquire their names by serving as primary vector for Rocky Mountain spotted fever and Colorado tick fever virus. Gulf Coast tick. These ticks attack variety of birds and mammals. Their adults feed on ruminants. Gulf Coast ticks reside primarily over head and ears. They can seriously damage to epidermis. They can cause serious damage to epidermis of the cattle, damaging the hides of the cattle due to bites and secondary infection thereafter. Cattle fever ticks. It is present in all tropical part of the world. They usually infect cattle, but they have infest cattle, but they have been reported to infest white-tailed deer too. Due to heavy infestation, they cause reduction in weight and milk production. This tick is also transmitter of protozoans Babesia bigmina, causing Texas cattle fever. This tick is also a transmitter of protozoan Babesia bigemina, causing Texas cattle fever. American dog ticks. They are also found around the domestic animals and human beings. Adults usually infest domestic and stray dogs, livestock, medium mammals and sometimes humans. Adults can easily be observed in early summers or late springs. These ticks are also vector of Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Tropical bond ticks. These ticks can easily be located in Africa and Caribbean and sometimes in Puerto Rico. They infest livestock, wild ruminants and birds. They are also vectors of Rickettsia virus responsible for causing heart water disease affecting the whole cattle industry. Spinous ear ticks. They attack livestock, especially horses and cattle. The young form is responsible for causing injury to the auditory canal, which may result into secondary infection. Brown dog tick. As the name suggests, these ticks infest dogs. They can often infest houses, especially in the houses where dogs are kept. Disease transmission. Ticks transmit a large number of microbial disease agents to companion animals and other useful livestock. Livestock and poultry population suffering severely from ticks may result into reduced productivity and can cause economic losses. Babesiosis is caused by Babesia bovis and Babesia bigemina. It commences with high temperature, loss of appetite and dehydration. The animal becomes lethargic and eventually lapses into coma or die in extreme condition. Now we summarize the whole module. Parasitism is a complex phenomena and it depicts very advanced mode of living. There are several forms of association of living beings formed alone with other living beings in order to survive and propagate. It is important to study parasitism and host-parasite relationship as parasites affects animals, plants and human beings in various ways. Parasites have evolved such that they extract maximum benefit from the host and they have adapted themselves as per the host physiology and behavior. Sometimes parasites extract benefit from the host without killing them like hookworms and roundworms. On the other hand, some parasites either their larval or maggot stage or their adult stage kill the host like screwworms. Usually parasites do not kill their host because as long as the hosts live, they survive. Some parasites have various stages of development. It is found that some or the other stage is involved with the intermediate host. This intermediate host may play a very important role in the development of that parasite. Either suitable temperature is not available in the primary host, or opportunity of availability of food is better with the intermediate host. With the help of these intermediate hosts, a parasite can travel up to large distance and can find suitable host for their next stage of development. In this way, it reduces the competition within the same host where it was born, as parasites lay numerous eggs and they remain within the same organism, they cannot survive. Arthropods such as ticks and mites are ectoparasites infecting the skin. Arthropods such as ticks and mites are ectoparasites infesting the skin of the host and exploiting the host. Ticks and mites also serve as vector for propagation of various diseases. Lice are also such ectoparasites living on the skin or surface of the host and feeding upon it. Other parasites such as fleas are also ectoparasites. Their morphology and behavior is well adapted for their particular needs. Chewing lice like Babicola have chewing types of mouth parts, while sucking lice like Haplopleura pacifica have piercing and sucking type of mouth parts. These parasites often serve as vectors for disease-causing agents. Some insects which are parasites on livestock like mosquitoes serve as vector for numerous diseases causing agents and reasons for transmission of deadly diseases in livestock like Rift Valley fever, transmit disease to humans as well. If parasites has already invaded, the livestock should be treated well, as presence of parasite will affect the quality of life of organism and compromise with the production of milk, meat or wool. This would be the end of it. Thank you.